afternoon, third graders. It is time for some lunchtime reading with Door in the Wall and dun 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 dun, Stella, Stella. Come on, Stella, work with me here. Up, up. Oh yes, with Stella. Here she is. Okay, now I just want you to know that Stella is not allowed on any of our furniture except for this place right here. Can you guess where I'm at? Yeah. Yes, we allow her on Ming Mei's bed. And you can tell that this is Ming Mei's bed by all these Pokemon. Oh, are you okay? Stuffed animals, which are, oh dear, Stella, don't be doing that on the camera. If any of you are Pokemon fans, well, then you probably know what some of these creatures are. I do not, except for this guy. I think his name is Charizard. All right. Now, don't get too distracted with Stella or with the Pokemon figures, but try to follow along. Remember that last week we ended with Brother Luke and John in the Wind and Robin escaping from the White Hart Inn from those two bad men who wanted to rob them. You know what? I didn't really explain how White Hart is spelled in this book. So when I call it the White Hart Inn, you're probably thinking of a white heart, but this is H-A-R-T, and maybe some of you people, some of you kids or parents know what a heart is. What that's spelled H-A-R-T. Well, back in the medieval times, they called stags hearts. And a stag, of course, is a male deer, and so a hart is a male deer. So it was like the White Deer Inn, okay, but it's called the White Hart. So they just escaped from there, and they found that old barn, and they slept in there for the rest of the night. And remember, they're on their way to Peter de Lindsay. That means Peter of Lindsay, or Peter of the Lindsay family, and that is where they're going to go stay and take Robin. Okay, so they're still traveling. The next morning, the weather cleared, and by the end of the fourth day, the spires of Oxford appeared. So Oxford is a place in England, and it's a very famous place. Oxford University is there. It was actually called Oxfordshire is the name of the town. So it has a lot of famous, a lot of people who want to go and study will go to Oxford in England still to this day. That is where C.S. Lewis studied, was at Oxford, and I believe he even taught there. The spires of Oxford. The spires would be just all the big buildings with the pointed rooftops, all right? And they're seeing the spires of Oxford now. Before long, they crossed the Cherwell into the High Street. Everywhere Robin looked, there were students walking about or talking on street corners. They sprawled under the park trees, eating bread and cheese, but wherever they were, they talked and talked and talked. Most of the students were poor and were dressed in every sort of party-colored gown or tunic. That means like just patchwork, lots of colors all over their clothes. It seems to me, said Robin, as if they try to see how outlandish they can make themselves look. The travelers went up the High, then turned on past the Saxon Tower and the Market Cross to St. John's College, where they were received with courtesy and where they spent the night. Beyond Oxford, the country began to be more rolling. Sometimes the road, so they're out of the city now, they're out of Oxford, and now they're in the country. Sometimes the road led through forests. Then again, it ran beside the river, crossed a bridge, and went up through a village. Once they had turned aside and once they had to turn aside and allow a cavalcade of horsemen to pass. A cavalcade of horsemen, that would mean like a big group or a parade of horsemen. So as they were walking on the road. They had to move out of the way to let all of these soldiers pass. In their midst rode a lady with her attendants. Robin wished the lady had been his mother. Where was his mother now? Did she know about him and where he was? Did she know that he walked with the help of crutches? They followed the cavalcade up the winding road to the top of the hill where there was a sign announcing a fair at Witchwood Beck. "There will be jousting," said Robin. "There will be dancing," said John Go-in-the-Wind. "And there will be little praying," said Brother Luke. "There will be no room at the inn, so we must not linger long." "Let us see a little of the fun," begged Robin. So they turned aside and spent some hours at the fair, tethering the horses near the gate, giving a penny to a lad for watching them. All the country people had come from miles around. They had brought cattle and sheep, dairy, butter, and cheese, whatever had been their portion after giving what was due to the lord of the manor. Robin wanted to be everywhere at once, just like when you guys go to a fair, right? The same for him. He wanted to go everywhere in that fair. He wanted to watch the tournament, the bear baiting, the wrestling, and the racing. He wanted to taste all the food, the pigeon pies, the honey tarts, that suckling pig with the apple in its mouth, and the jugged hare. He flitted from one booth to the other with Brother Luke after him. Finally, Brother Luke said, "Have you seen enough, lad? It is a good way to the next hospice, they tell me, and we have 2 or 3 days' journey ahead of us, so come, my son." "Let me see only the rest of the Punch and Judy, then," agreed Robin, "and I shall be willing, for never have I seen anything so funny." That was like a little puppet show that he wanted to see. "For that only, then," said the friar, and went to find John, who had been playing tunes and earning a few extra farthings. Remember, farthings were coins back then, from the dancers. By night of that day they reached an abbey, which is a church set in a hollow. Its square tower stood above the trees in sign of welcome to the travelers, who were most grateful for the hospitality of the abbot. He told them of the best road to their destination and of the deep wood through which they would pass. There was frost on the ground when they started out next day. They had been a whole week they'd been traveling on their journey, and according to the abbot's counsel, they still had 2 days or more to go. Great rolling hills began to appear, and over them hung clouds filled with the rain. And rain it did before the hour was out. Then, when they had begun to enter the wood that embraced the hill, it slackened, and the sun came out. "Let us halt here for our midday food," said John, whose jerkin, that's his covering, was wet because his cloak had been left hanging out the window of the White Hart, so he had left his cloak there at the White Hart when he tried to escape. "Here I shall build a fire to warm us and dry our clothes." The fire felt comforting and warm. There was no ale, and only one withered apple left, but water flowed in the river hard by, from which John filled the leather flagons. After they had eaten, John sang a ballad while he dried his clothes. It's kind of like a poem, a little song that he sang. When Robin asked if he might try the harp, John showed him how to hold it and pluck the strings, but it was not so easy as it appeared. John promised to teach him. "By all accounts," said Brother Luke, "this forest goes for miles, and it may well be that we shall not come out of it by nightfall." "Now I remember this wood," said John, nodding his head, "though it was but once I went through it. It is of great size, but there is a woodman's cottage, I recall, where we can shelter for the night. I found the woodman and his good wife courteous and kindly folk, willing to share what they have." "Let us be on our way," said Robin, "now that we are near to our journey's end, and I wish to see my godfather, Sir Peter de Lindsay. Do you think he is a good man, as my father says, John Go-in-the-Wind?" Will he want me now to stay with him? For how shall I be an esquire or even a page? Robin was thoughtful. It is well known in the country round about that he is a gracious master and a noble knight, said John. His lady, too, is well loved for her goodness to the poor. Fear not, my son, the friar assured him. You will find kind friends in thy new home. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. Let me see how much is left in this chapter. Ooh, there's quite a bit. Maybe I better read just a little bit more. All afternoon, the way continued through the forest, yet there was no sign of its coming to an end. The dusk began to fall, and the howl of a wolf sent shivers down Robin's spine. Still, no woodman's hut appeared, and there was nothing but forest trees and brush on every side. Finally, when it was so dark they could hardly see the path, Robin pointed out a feeble light. See there, through the trees, he said, a small cottage. That must be the place. Ah, John sighed in relief. Then I was not mistaken. It is the woodman's cottage where we shall lodge tonight. How welcome the hearth and fire will be, declared Brother Luke. Let us hope we shall be as welcome. Well, the woodcutter and his wife made them welcome and shared gladly what they had. The ale was well brewed, and there was peas porridge and bread for supper. Then John played the little harp and sang. The next morning, well refreshed, the three voyagers set out on the last leg of their journey. The weather was neither fair nor rainy, neither hot nor cold, but somewhere in between, as English weather is like to be, said the friar, which is English weather is very much like Bellingham weather. When true daylight arrived, they had come to the edge of the wood, and now the hills stood all about, being very high toward the north, where the Welsh mountains loomed in the blue distance. Okay, now that's where I'm going to stop. And I'm actually going to stop the tape, and that way you can listen to this one for lunch today. And then I'm going to turn the tape back on here in just a minute and finish this chapter. But I'm hoping that you'll wait for, what's today? I think I'm showing this on Monday, that you'll wait till Wednesday to watch the next one. All right, you guys, enjoy your lunch and enjoy your afternoon. Oh,